Long ago in the heart of ancient Egypt, a mighty empire rose along the banks of the Nile River. The Pharaoh of that time ruled with absolute power, believing himself to be a god among men. He was feared by all, and his word was law across the land. But one night, Pharaoh had a dream that filled him with terror. He saw in his dream a child born from the Israelites who would one day rise to challenge his rule. The next morning, he gathered his priests and magicians to interpret the dream. They warned him that a male child from the Israelites would grow to destroy his kingdom. In fear and arrogance, Pharaoh ordered the killing of every newborn male among the Israelites. The Israelites, who were enslaved under Pharaoh, cried out in anguish and despair. Among them lived a woman of faith, from the descendants of Prophet Jacob, who was about to give birth. When her son was born, she felt both joy and deep fear. She prayed to Allah for guidance to save her child from Pharaoh's soldiers. Then Allah inspired her to place the baby in a small basket and set it afloat on the Nile River. With tears in her eyes, she placed her baby in the river. Trusting Allah's protection, the basket drifted silently through the calm waters, guided by divine will. It reached the royal gardens of Pharaoh's palace, where his wife, Asiya, was bathing with her maids. She ordered her servants to bring the basket ashore. When she opened it, she saw a beautiful baby boy, his face glowing with innocence. Her heart was filled with love and compassion for the child. Pharaoh wanted to kill the baby, fearing he might be the child from his dream. But Asiya pleaded with him, saying, "He may bring joy to our hearts, do not kill him." Pharaoh reluctantly allowed the child to live and be raised in his palace. Thus, Moses grew up in the very home of the man who sought his death. He was given the finest education, learning wisdom, language, and leadership. But in his heart, he never forgot the suffering of his people, the Israelites. One day, while walking through the city, he saw an Egyptian guard beating an Israelite slave. Moses rushed to defend the man and struck the guard in anger. The guard fell to the ground and died from the blow. Fear filled Moses' heart, and he prayed for forgiveness from Allah. The next day, the news of the killing spread throughout the city. When Pharaoh learned of it, he ordered the arrest and execution of Moses. A man from Pharaoh's court, who was secretly a believer, warned Moses to flee at once. Moses left Egypt in the night, escaping through the desert with nothing but faith. After days of travel, he reached the land of Midian, far from Pharaoh's kingdom. At a well in Midian, he saw two women struggling to draw water. He helped them water their flock with kindness and humility. The women returned home and told their father about the noble stranger who helped them. Their father, Prophet Shuaib, Jethro, invited Moses to his home and offered him safety. Moses lived there for years, working hard and finding peace in his new life. He married one of Shuaib's daughters and started a humble family. Years later, while traveling with his family through the desert, a strange light appeared on a distant mountain. He told his family to wait and went up the mountain to see what it was. There, he witnessed a divine miracle, the burning bush that was not consumed by fire. From the flame, the voice of Allah spoke to him, commanding him to return to Egypt. Allah appointed him as a prophet and gave him the mission to free the Israelites from Pharaoh's tyranny. Moses was also given miraculous signs, his staff turning into a serpent and his hand glowing with divine light. With a heart full of courage, Moses set out for Egypt, ready to confront the most powerful man on earth. Moses returned to Egypt after many years, his heart steady with faith and his mission clear. His brother Aaron joined him as his helper, chosen by Allah to support him in his mission. Together they walked into the grand palace of Pharaoh, the ruler who claimed to be a god. Moses spoke firmly, "O Pharaoh, I am the messenger of the Lord of all worlds. Let the children of Israel go free." Pharaoh laughed arrogantly and said, "Who is this Lord you speak of besides me?" Moses replied, "The Lord of the heavens and the earth and all that lies between them." Pharaoh accused Moses of sorcery and challenged him to prove his claim. Moses threw down his staff, and by Allah's will, it turned into a living serpent that moved swiftly across the floor. The magicians were summoned from across Egypt to defeat Moses in front of the people. On the day of the contest, the city square was filled with thousands of people eager to witness the duel. The magicians stood proudly before the crowd, their faces full of confidence and loyalty to Pharaoh. Thousands gathered under the blazing Egyptian sun, waiting to witness the contest between power and truth. When the magicians threw down their ropes and staffs, the crowd gasped, for they appeared to turn into serpents crawling on the hot sand. People cheered, believing Pharaoh's magicians had proven their might. Then Moses stepped forward, calm and fearless. He cast down his staff, and before everyone's eyes, it became a living serpent that devoured their illusions one by one. The noise faded and silence filled the square. Truth had overpowered deception. In awe, the magicians fell to their knees and declared, "We believe in the Lord of Moses and Aaron." Pharaoh's rage exploded. His pride could not bear their surrender. He ordered their punishment, his voice echoing through the palace walls. Yet even as his anger grew, whispers spread among the people. Whispers of the signs they had seen with their own eyes. Pharaoh's cruelty deepened. He tightened his control over the Israelites, forcing them into even harsher labor. But his power was about to be tested, for by Allah's command, a series of plagues began to descend upon the land of Egypt. The Nile, once the lifeblood of the kingdom, turned red like blood. Fish floated lifeless on its surface as the stench of decay filled the air. Men and women stood helpless, watching the river they worshipped become a sign against them. Still, Pharaoh called it magic and refused to believe. The Nile turned red like blood, and the fish within it died. A foul smell filled the air as the people of Egypt watched their sacred river become a river of death. Their hearts trembled, yet Pharaoh refused to believe. Soon frogs came in swarms, flooding every home, every street, and even the royal palace. They jumped upon the tables of the rich and croaked through the night without rest. Then came lice and gnats that covered every man and beast, leaving no one untouched. The people cried in pain, yet Pharaoh called it nothing but magic. Next came locusts that darkened the skies like a living storm. They devoured every green leaf, every stalk of grain, leaving the land bare and dry. The once golden fields of Egypt turned to dust. Still, Pharaoh's pride stood tall. Then darkness fell across the land, thick, endless, and heavy. For 3 days, no one could see another's face. Even the fires gave little light, and fear spread through every house. But each time a plague came, Pharaoh would plead with Moses to pray for relief. And each time the suffering ended, he broke his word again. His heart was harder than stone. At last, Allah revealed to Moses that the time of deliverance had come. That night, the Israelites prepared to leave their homes forever. They packed in silence, hearts trembling between faith and fear. Under the veil of night, Moses led them out of Egypt. Their torches flickered in the cold desert wind as they walked through the sand. Children clung to their mothers. Elders leaned on staffs as they moved quietly. Far behind, the city of Egypt slept, unaware that history was being written. When Pharaoh awoke to the news of their escape, his rage shook the palace walls. And soon they reached the shores of the mighty Red Sea. The Israelites cried out in fear. Trapped between the sea before them and Pharaoh's army behind, Moses stood firm, lifting his staff high toward the heavens, trusting in his Lord. By the command of Allah, the sea split into 2 towering walls of water, leaving a dry path between them. The Israelites stepped forward, walking between the walls of water under the glowing sky. Behind them, Pharaoh's army rushed into the same path, blinded by arrogance and fury. As the last of the Israelites reached the far shore, the command of Allah came once more. The walls of water collapsed with thunderous force, swallowing Pharaoh and his soldiers. Pharaoh realized too late the power of the true God, his crown sinking beneath the waves. When morning came, the sea was calm again, its surface silent, as if nothing had ever happened. On the distant shore, Moses and his people stood safe and free, their eyes filled with tears of gratitude.